China is asking people to show their patriotism by having babies for the state. And it's even willing to bend a few rules, like encouraging unmarried teens getting pregnant. Welcome to China Uncensored, I'm Chris Chappell. China's population could be cut in half before the century is over. People aren't having kids. I can't imagine why. The Communist Party is petrified of running out of Chinese people. I mean, killing Chinese people is kind of their thing. What are they going to do if they run out? That's why they're doing some insane things to push people to have more kids. For instance, this banner put up by village officials says, "Mother-daughter pregnant together, not ugly. Mother-in-law, daughter-in-law pregnant together, an honor." That was basically the plot of Father of the Bride 2. As you can see, the government is desperate to increase the country's birth rate. And unlike increasing the death rate in China, the government's not very good at it. Who would have thought living under a genocidal authoritarian regime isn't the best aphrodisiac? China's large population is what gives its economy an edge. And having children is a big safety net for the elderly, which is a safety net the government doesn't want to provide. This is why China has filial piety laws. You think you've got a moral obligation to take care of your elderly parents? Well, in China, you've got a legal obligation. Chinese people stuck taking care of their horrible elderly parents watched American news during COVID and thought, I wish Andrew Cuomo was my governor. There are a number of reasons why China's population is falling. For one, China has a shortage of women. That's because for decades, the government only allowed people to have one kid. And nobody wanted a girl. That led to countless sex-selective abortions. And here I thought gender reveal parties in America were disastrous. Of the women there are, fewer are choosing to have children. Government statistics show on average a woman in China went from having about 3 babies in the late 1970s to just 1 today. Another government policy that backfired was telling people to marry and conceive later in life. And guess what? Mission accomplished. And that's if they even get married. So-called marriage phobia is making more Chinese women opt for staying single. I wonder why. In that case, the man ran over his wife, he gets out multiple times to check that she's dead, and when he sees she isn't, he runs her over again. Who's ready to call a matchmaker? Now that was an extreme example, but domestic abuse is a big problem in China. Then there's the cost of raising a kid, which is a big barrier for a lot of people. It costs on average nearly $70,000 to bring up a child in China, and in big cities it costs more. A Beijing-based think tank found that China is among the most expensive places to raise a child, which is why some women choose work over having kids. And many employers want them to choose career over kids because they don't want to pay for maternity leave. That's why, I kid you not, many jobs included pregnancy tests as part of the recruitment process. After the government decided it wanted more kids, they told employees to stop asking women about marriage and babies. But 2 years later, Human Rights Watch found numerous job advertisements that require female applicants to have already given birth. Then there's the 996 work culture, working 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week. Technically illegal. But it is unclear when or if the rules that make 996 illegal will be fully enforced. Try having a kid and working 996. There's a reason many people simply decided to flee China. It got so bad that during the pandemic, the Chinese government stopped renewing most people's passports. But never fear, the Chinese Communist Party is here. And it has a solution for all of China's problems, which I'll tell you about right after this quick commercial break. Welcome back. China is seeing a huge decline in its population thanks to fewer births and mass migration. Now, if China were a normal country, the government would try to fix this by making people want to stay in China and raise kids. But no. This is China. It's doing things the tried and true communist way, using exit bans to keep thousands of people from leaving the country. Because that's how you convince someone not to leave you, by trapping them. Johnny Depp and Amber Heard had a less toxic relationship than that. And in case you're wondering if China's trying to attract immigrants to boost its numbers, the answer is no. In fact, China has tried to discourage migrants who are not of Chinese ethnic origin. Yes, and China calls the US racist. Remember, they were the first ones to chant, "Build that wall, build that wall." That's not the only way China is approaching this issue with a hammer, though. In 2018, state-run media published a piece by two Chinese academics. They proposed a no-child tax that couples would be forced to pay if they didn't have more than one child. Remember, this was in 2018. China still technically had a two-child policy. So, do you want them to have kids or not? Even now, with all the hand-wringing over population decline, China still has a three-child-only policy. At least it does on paper. In practice, a Chinese court in Hunan province recently rejected a woman's request for a divorce because she already had 6 kids and didn't want a 7th. Her 6 children were all girls, and her husband still wanted a boy. Now, people are afraid the courts are going to be weaponized into forcing women to have more children. And get this, there's a new fertility campaign that targets girls as young as 15 and women as old as 49. Man, they're really promoting that daughter-mom pregnancy thing, aren't they? Under the campaign, girls as young as 15 will receive folic acid supplements, and women as old as 49 could receive assistance from local reproductive-focused medical teams. Does that mean they're preparing 15-year-old girls to give birth? Folic acid helps with birth defects, which you would only be concerned with if you wanted them to get pregnant, right? Do they realize that the movie Juno wasn't a how-to guide? So teen pregnancies and geriatric pregnancies, what's next? Are they going to allow children born out of wedlock? Under Chinese laws, only mothers who are married are recognized by the state. But not in Sichuan province. They recently did away with that taboo as well. Now, unmarried couples can enjoy benefits reserved for married couples, with no ceiling on the number of children they can register. Wow, maybe that will mean fewer forced abortions. China is the only country that's both anti-choice and anti-life. A city in Jiangxi province probably had the best solution to the crisis, though. It created a government dating app for singles in the city. Because nothing says I love you like, let's get married for the state. And China Uncensored would not exist without support from viewers like you. You can help us uncensor China by joining our exclusive social media platform on Locals. That's chinauncensored.locals.com. As a thank you to fans that do, I'll answer one of their questions. Today's question comes from Big Fat Ant. Hi team, love your work. I'm considering getting a Tesla 3 for use in Australia, but should I be worried about privacy issues as it's made in Shanghai? Great question. So Teslas do collect a lot of data through their numerous sensors and cameras. And after being pressured by the CCP, Tesla set up a data center in China for all their China cars. Any data stored there can be accessed by the Chinese government. Now, I doubt a Tesla in Australia would send your data to China, but it's also not impossible. And in general, I'm just suspicious of cars made in a country known to sneak spyware into even kettles. So, Big Fat Ant, I would suggest looking into another hybrid option. Good luck, and let me know what you find on Locals. Thank you for watching. Remember, check out our exclusive social media platform on Locals. All it takes is a small monthly contribution. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.